how can we think about action in our lives, particularly the concept of free action and how it relates to practice and how it relates to our understanding?
Free action, planets orbiting, free action, sun shining, free action, stars exploding, free action, life, being life, free action, perfect, free action. That means it's already happening. Doesn't require one particle of ego to make it better or worse. Doesn't require that. Not a particle of thought is going to make it any better or worse. It's already perfectly happening as it happens. You're already included in the mix. Your beginning and your ending and your all in between is already included in the mix. You have to rest inside this level of consciousness deeply and clearly enough so that you see you're already included in the mix. So there's nothing you can do to change it. But you can, according to a Taoist principle of understanding, you can find out what that flow is and be more a part of it and smile a little bit more. Be kinder to your body, your mind, and your peeps. So you have to get into this intelligence that says, now, Tao, now. See? Work from that. Free action. See? Spontaneous presence, free action. Breathing, free action. See? Heart beating, free action. Sitting, free action. Anything else is secondary to that. See? You got to have some being first before you can do anything. You got to make sure your being, right, your engine of being is working properly. See? Peacefully. Healthfully, see, wholesomely, etc., intelligently, beautifully, majestically, nobly, creatively, peacefully, yes, peacefully, see, infinitely, peacefully, free action, good concept, good practice. Yes, you have to say, I really do, and feel it right away in a split second. I need and I will do this because I need to do this. It's got to get done. Boom. No anything else. Boom. Hatchet to the wood. Boom. No messing around, as they say in the wood. No playing around. Just boom, done already. Yeah, it's gone already. Done. Finished. What? That was yesterday. This is tomorrow. I have to jump down. This is tomorrow, already complete. You have to be careful not to be using all of these great recreational activities to try to attain your focus. You should be focused way before you even consider bowling or anything as a focus instrument or method of focusing. That's way after the fact. You are focused. You got to be focused. You're the focuser. You got to keep your camera in focus. You are the videographer. You have to keep everything in focus all the time. Your mind is the same way. You have to keep it in focus. So you have to live life in focus, not in this fuzz, in this blur, self-blur. You have to undo self-blur at all costs. You got to keep it in focus, mind clear, focus. Easy, very easy, right, the easy way.
And to know to be confident what we're giving our 100% to.
It depends on where you are in the moment. Whatever's showing up on the screen in your time-space world. But then you want to be able to be judicious about it. You want to be creative about it. Say, well, I see a lot of garbage coming into my screen. Do I have to be 100% with this and BS from my friends, associates, and relatives? Say, not necessarily. Because if you give them 100%, what's the result? Yeah. So you have to know what. So you have to have some kind of individual, direct approach to this. Say, no, I'm giving myself this focus for this purpose, this reason, so I can be accomplishing this. It has nothing to do with the other peeps. I have to accomplish this so I can even be like in the same room with the other peeps, according to my, let's say, social status or cultural programming. I have to have accomplishment first before I can even speak at the dinner table. Say, well, I'm not getting a Nobel Prize yet, but I'm working on something just as noble. Perfect. Yeah, I must do what I have to do to distinguish myself in the eyes of my distinguished people. Yeah. And so at least I feel good that I've done something different, unique, and made it as a contribution. So that's it. I need to focus on that. And then from that point, move to the next point of, let's say, acceleration, and or let's say another point of intensification, or creation.
Is there ever not a 100% moment?
There's always a not 100% moment. That's why you got to bring it. So you have to bring it. It's not there. You got to put it there. That's what focus is about. But it's not as you're doing it. Focus then has to become a way of life. So that's just the way it is. That's what we call the burn. Complete absorption, love. See? Annihilating a distraction completely. No distraction. Just doing, but then doing without doing. Knowing without knowing. And being beyond. We can say beyond. Being beyond being. As you open up, no, it's not something you're me, and any of self-programs don't exist. What you're doing is putting them aside so that what really exists can show up for what it is.
And is that something it does?
That's what it is. It is. What it is doing. What it is being and knowing. But beyond your resistance to it and your personalizing of it in a lesser sense, to a lesser degree. Obviously. And this is everybody's source. It's the same thing. It's everyone's core being. And it's no more in the Zen master than in anybody. It's just the Zen master's focused on it. The Zen master's already absorbed itself into it by practice and training, so that that's the way it is done. We're not saying a Zen master does, because a Zen master can apply that in any other field. They may not be trained to do that. They may not be trained to be fluent in other languages, particularly, unless they expose themselves and study and learn the mechanics of those. So we're saying then it's about training. Of course, what we want to do is open beyond training to where it is present as flowing in the sense of the Tao of itself completely. But often than not, training requires that you get to that place where then it can take over from your memory and let's say adaptation to the language, to the mechanics of whatever the thing is. If it's music, then it's all the musical requirements and disciplines, and then it will use you for that. Then you see spontaneous, whatever it is, come up. The idea is to know that it's with you all the time, not to think it's not with you. Know it is with you all the time. It is. It is you, but not your BS you, right? Your self-meditating you. No, it's the heart you. Stay with the idea of the heart you. See? So you're just heartness. The word is heartness. See? And it's not even an I am. It is. It's heartness. It's not even it is. It's heartness.
Meanwhile, I'm saturated by my bodily sensations and movements of mind. I mean, is it within these or beyond these that one...
What it is enables you to be everything you appear as that you don't like and wish you didn't have to deal with. It is letting you be that because it's everything. So you want to be able to bypass the self-meditation part so that this very same thing is free to do what it is that you want done or need to have done. Yeah. You can't feel separated from it because that's an obstruction in the whole process. You have to feel that it is everything, it is everywhere, at the same time that it doesn't seem to show up at all, producing any good results for you because you don't have the training, the experience, or the drive, or whatever the missing ingredient is yet, but you have to be open to that because it is present. Because if it is what it is, then it is what it isn't. And then it's a matter of working from the what it isn't, that into what it is as results that you're looking for. Yeah. But you have to marry yourself to that process and not just be compromised here, there, and everywhere with other peeps and expect this kind of result. Right? If you don't live 100%, you can't expect 100%. If you live 10, 15%, then you can expect 10, 15%. Lots of lady energy, lots of family energy, lots of all this other energy. That's what you get out of it. I got lady energy. Don't have this awesome, let's say, encompassing focus. I don't have this all-penetrating focus because I am compromising it with my this, my that, and every other mind that I have. Fragmenting your energy, and it's totally normal. So you focus your energy and say, goodbye, goodbye sweets, goodbye this, goodbye that. And before you know it, you have your energies restored so you can put it into what it is that you want to be the bomb at. Total logic. You're welcome.
Okay, so when we're learning to be sensitive to intuitive knowing,
it requires quietness. There's a certain kind of prerequisite of quietude. Not in all cases, but I think stillness is like a beginning of great action. Calmness. And I think calmness corresponds to certain brainwave activity that is conducive to knowing and seeing and using higher faculties. So calmness is very important as a way of gathering your forces, seeing more clearly to the bottom and the depths of your own consciousness, and allowing what it is to come through with much more fierceness and peaceful fierceness, fierce peace, so on. So calmness and power go hand to hand. You won't make any mistakes in the future as you practice. There won't be any such thing. There won't be any wrong turns. You have to practice so every turn is the right turn. Okay? You need to practice. And then what we're talking about is if you practice to a certain level, you do find that everything actually starts to happen in what we would have to perceive as, or acknowledge as, it's like perfect. See, it's not like saying, like a hippie version of it, saying, well, everything's just perfect. Everything's just perfect. Well, I just messed up the cake. It collapsed. Perfect. We don't mean that kind of perfect. We can say that too, but we mean actually perfect. Picture perfect. See, there's something in us that can do that. And this is that open, peaceful grace that can enable things to seem totally like absolutely impossible and happen. It's the way that I play, in a sense. And if it's the way that I play, then it's the way it is played in everybody's case. We just need to get to that place where the we and the it are dissolved into each other, where there's a merging of the we and the it into itself. So then that's the way it is. It's not the way that anyone does anything, but that's the way it is. And that becomes the way. We say that's the Tao of itself. Go ahead. If you have tended to be confused, and you have depended on yourself to be confused, because you might assume or presume you're a confused person and you don't make the right decisions, and some people live that way, then you're gonna have to wait until you burn out those programs. They have to be burned out. So it is these programs that were set into motion that are showing up, giving you this assumption. So you're assuming it is true, as it seems that you enjoy the self that makes mistakes because you expect that from yourself. That's a family program. It doesn't exist really, but it can show up as if it's existing. Now you could start right this second and say, that's not so. You're not confused. And you're part of the no confusion circuitry as much as the confused circuitry of the family. Okay? And it's impressions of who you are and what you're supposed to be because that's how you showed up, because the family programming would have you show up that way. And then they say, well, that's just programming, which means You know, up to a point, it is real. Up to another point, it's not real anymore. Because if it is this kind of programming, then you need to appeal to the same level of programming, where the effects and the results are contrary to that. And then it's a matter of understanding what your potential is, not what your image is. You can get beyond your image and the images of the other peeps you know, and get beyond something that is true and deep and closer to what we call the heart reality, which is perfection and mastery and the warrior code. See? All good heads roll. Let all good heads roll. Swoosh. That's it.
So as we're dissolving our programs,
releasing them, it's a conscious process. You want to know what it is to be released, because you got to know your behavior well enough. So I think this requires a little bit of a scientific type of mentality. You're saying, yeah, I think this way. I've seen these patterns. I've written them out. I have quoted them. I've more or less created some kind of archive of my own programs, mentalisms, and thoughts and ideas and false views and good views, and say, yeah, this is what I've done all my life. This is how I've thought. This is what I thought I was. This mind, whatever this mind is, we call it the karmic mind. That's the program mind, right? The mind that goes this way, that way, and the monkey mind, perhaps even. And so we say, yeah, we are that. All of us happen to be that. We are that. We is monkey mind. But then we is monkey mind and we is not monkey mind. Always go to the opposite here. See, which is the balance. How much can we invest in the is not monkey mind? And that's when we start to correct the whole game. We correct this seesaw, see, from one side to the other side. It was our side, that tipped the scale over there, now we're going to tip it this way. Now we want it perfect, because it's kind of boring doing it that way. And knowing we can do it perfectly, let's just spend some time doing it perfectly. Show up a bit more efficient, much more on point, much more obvious to other people, and prove to ourselves that we were the master after all, pretending not to be the master. So then it's pretense. It's not pretending. It's just pretense. Really, it's just think of it. And it's the same. Everybody has the same core consciousness. It's a matter of how we enable it to work. It's not any different. You have 2 arms, 2 legs, you have everything obviously in perfect operating condition. So then it's a matter of having your attitude set so that what you're doing then is appealing to. You're inputting. You're typing in, exactly. A good question. Why not the master program? Can I have some master program, please? And why not? It's all here. You are the master program, asking for more master program. You have to look at it with this kind of creative intelligence. Say. It's just creative common sense. Yeah, creative common sense. What you're looking for, you've always been. You got to align yourself and relate to yourself accordingly and properly. Even if it means making radical changes in the way you've related to other people. Say, no, you're not what they were allowed to assume you were. You're more than that. And then your work demands the respect. Your work turns everything around relative to other people. Say, I used to be that way. True, I appear that way, but no, this is what it is now. See? It's the way it must be now. It's the way it has to be, this is the way it is now. Sorry to disappoint you people. Gave you a lot of fun and kicks before, but now this is the way it is. Get out of my way. I got work to do now. Thank you, I love you all. Keep moving. Let the good heads roll. Means no obstacles, chop them down. Put your machete on the trees and limbs in front of you, on your path. Just chop away. You have to clear it. It's how it's done. Clear your path to walk on it.
So can thought ever be considered part of unimpeded action?
Sure, it's never about thought. It's whether or not your circuitry is set up so that you know what you can do. You can think about it forever afterwards.
Or before?
You can think about it before and actually make it happen because of your thought. So you want to use thought, as I said. You want to use your vehicles, your bodies. You want to use your, let's say, fullness, let's say, assortment of capabilities and faculties. Perceptions and intelligences, consciousnesses, for the purpose of your mission, whatever that might be, and whatever's on the table at that time. So, I have to do this, I have to do it right, I have to do it. I'm going to focus on it, spend less time doing all these other recreational things in the name of blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to work on this and get this done sooner than later. Focus. See? And you feel better about it. See? Not that you feel bad about doing these other things, but you can get used to actually focusing and collecting your energies, which is what meditation practice supposedly can do for peeps who need to gather themselves. You sit, breathe, pull yourself together. It's not about all the great things you can do to some degree, but maybe a few things you can do to a great degree. That will tend to distinguish you a little bit more uniquely on the scale of possibilities.
So how does one adjust one's resonance or enter in?
Well, you have to do it. You don't analyze it. Think about it. So how do I do what I'm doing? How can I be where I'm being? Good question. So it's in the doing without, let's say, the burden of mental processing that has nothing to do, apart from obstructing what it is that we would call clear seeing, clear hearing. I mean, the way the music happens. Without hesitation, just clear. It would appear that way. Easy. I think that's the word, easy. Graceful. Smooth. You need to know you're doing the right thing. You're doing what is perceived as right, okay for you. Working. You have to know that what you're doing is working because you have results that assure you that it's working. And good practice, and that means regular development, cultivation, will produce good results, or comparable results, clearly. So you have to trust that you're doing the right thing, that you've been doing the right thing, whoever it is. If you're doing anything at all, then you have to sense for yourself what it is, and thus trust the creative process in accordance with this kind of activity, whatever that might be. Trust it. Okay. But don't trust it in terms of trust as a concept. That means know what it is. See it for itself. Let it be obvious to you that it is what it is and it's working well enough to not question it. If you trust that, why would you need anybody else for anything else or to trust them?
You also say creative music is your instrument. She's not my master, nor am I her slave. How does that relate to being nothing?
Again, just because it's creative music doesn't mean it's not nothing. So, the place that it comes from is verily, only and absolutely nothing. Even though it's beautiful, perfect, masterful, or could be, masterful demonstrations of virtuosity or crazy wisdom in music, crazy sound, and so on. Where it comes from is verily, only, always, truly, itself. And it uses everyone in the same way, but not everyone is in resonance with it happening of itself. Most people are convinced, persuaded, absolutely certain that they are doing what they are doing.
that then impede the process?
It is not the process. Okay. The assumption of you doing it is not the process. Just as the assumption of you're not doing it is also not the process, but we have to use language to at least open the door to it. Because just because you say you're not doing it doesn't mean you're not doing it. Very good.
So adjacent to the creative music is my instrument comment, you also said, I am a channel. I related that to a radio channeler.
Definitely. Definitely. Along those lines, then, we can say that yogic development, yogic training, enables you to deal with different vibrations, because in the yogic schools, or the yogic system, what they teach you is about different chakras or different levels of reality. These levels of reality have corresponding vibratory rates that have to do with the perception of or manifestation of certain phenomena. And they also correspond to certain dimensions of consciousness. So they could be considered horizontal planes, actually. Horizontal plane, a flat plane. A flat ground, we can say. Even if at times it would appear to be hilly or mountainous or difficult to walk. And so the idea of channeling then has to do with being able to, let's say, manipulate or control vibratory rates. So then, yes, it's a matter of channeling different frequencies of sound, knowing, and data. See, that comes through as a result of a conscious openness, but then manifests itself unconsciously as itself.
How can we foster free action?
Foster it?
Yes. Cultivate it.
Well, we have to know what it is. So we have to know what the mechanics of the so-called free action are. It usually implies some kind of enlightenment principle. Free action, I mean selfless action is free action. Now there is impulsive free action. That's different. It's not necessarily enlightened, but it's not necessarily unenlightened either. So hopefully, depending on the person, you can have an impulsive action that can save someone's life. It could be totally impulsive and totally crazy, where you jump in a river full of ice to save somebody. But you know what you're doing is right, and you know you can do it. And yet everybody will say you're crazy. So when you're that in touch with your nature, right, your emotions, your will, your mind, your heart, and you can do things like that, because you're using it. It's not just it's using you. Because when it starts to use you more, then fear comes in. When you're being swept away and you're not ready for that, fear comes in. Fear says, oh, well, what's happening?
How can we discriminate between free action and dangerous or destructive action?
Well, you better know what danger is. you should know what's danger. So free action doesn't really have that much to do with danger. Free action as an enlightened expression is like perfect action. It's not just impulsive action. That's not free action. That means free action has a certain quality of wisdom in it, maybe crazy wisdom in it. It already knows. It's a knowingness, but it's a knowingness that's liberated, so it would appear to be crazy to other peeps, but it's perfectly lawful. And the results are always wonderful. It eliminates chaos. And pain. there's a tremendous amount of discipline involved, a tremendous amount of knowing and knowledge and lawfulness. So it's not just free action, it's some kind of impulsive madness of ridiculous proportions with disastrous results. Say, whoops! Did I just do? No, I didn't just do that. No, exactly. Yeah, we're talking about something beyond calculation and what some would call impeccable judgment. Beyond judgment, it's not even that. There's no judgment involved, but it would seem like an impeccable judgment. Or skill, but then there's no skill involved either, because it's doing it itself, so we're just there for the ride.
So, as we move from a place of needing a certain amount of skill and understanding to make good judgment or to make good decisions, towards a place where maybe these decisions already exist. They've been made.
They are made in everybody. They're already there. It's a matter of opening to the place where that judgment is your nature. Impeccability, that's what spiritual practice is about, and that's what profound artistic skills should enable a person to do, so there's no mistakes. And even in the case of a mistake, it's like precious, because it's related to this other mastery. So it's not a mistake. It's an exception. It's a flub, but it's a sacred flub. Right? It's a throwaway that is just every bit as important as everything else. It's like broken glass, like a set of glasses, and then one falls and breaks, and it's still that glass. It's just broken form of it. You understand?
Would you suggest living every moment as this kind of crazy creative being, and if so, how would we be doing that?
The crazy creative being is also, if it's a truly creative crazy being, truly, then that creative crazy being is also a peaceful silent being. Because we're not saying it's a neurotic, schizoid, psychopath, psychotic, wacko. We're not talking about that. Crazy, creative. When we say creative, we might be implying sacred. In touch with the creative forces in truth. And then if it's a crazy creative person, then they will be able to tell you all you need to know about the universe. That means the creative force is alive in them, it's active in them, and it speaks for itself. And itself is peace. That's what itself is. Turn the other cheek. I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. It's like, try the other blade. It's not about turning the other cheek. I don't have that many cheeks to be turning. No, meet things head on and do what you have to do. I think that's it. Have a good heart, have peace in your heart, so that your mind is clear. When your mind is clear and you're doing good works, you don't create situations where you have to turn the other cheek. Don't create the situation where you have to turn the other cheek or prove that you're a Christian or anything else, when you have to really not be there. It's like saying, whoops, let me back this up. I'm going to take a turn on it a little bit earlier than this, And not avoid it, find another way to go where you don't have to deal with something you might regret, or others might regret. Yeah. Push comes to shove, you have to defend and protect yourself, or not. If you're a Buddhist, you know there's no death, exactly, except the ego, self-death. So you have anything to worry about. You just pass out. Big deal. Let's get it on. So then war shouldn't be an issue. If that's the truth, then war shouldn't be an issue. Being conquered or anything shouldn't be an issue. That's the truth, really. Realization liberates you from the earth completely. Then, at the same time, it makes it possible for you to be of service to all peeps without clinging to culture and attachment to geography. Earth is a big place. Those who cling to what they shouldn't cling to, which is no longer theirs, will be killed in the process. That's called very questionable resistance. Whereas you see the Karmapa just moved on, didn't get caught up in that. Trump and the Karmapa left a bit to save the teachings. And so they planted teachings down the road. The Kamatriyana temple down the road. Free action is. You get in tune with what it is. You have to open deeply to what it really is and needs to be in your own case. We are in tune. It's like the idea of some kind of realization. It's already present. How do you align yourself to that so that you can produce things with much less suffering? The whole idea that the Four Noble Truths, let's say, is a very, very fundamental. It's kind of like kindergarten principle. You're an effect, and how did you show up? How do you account for showing up as an effect? Effect of what? How? Why are you an effect? What are you an effect of? And so on. How did you come to be? Why are you experiencing your condition this way? And so once you see that you are experiencing one of many conditions, then you say, well, how is it that I can undo this condition? That's kind of like the basic logic of undoing, reversing something that you realize you're being because you didn't think about it. So here we're talking about transforming reaction into free action. By opening more to the currents of spirit, peacefulness, originally peacefulness, clear breathing, free breathing, free action. Free being, free breathing, free action, free being. Same thing, one thing. Very simple, maybe too peaceful for peeps. Too boring then, too much inaction. There's not enough action in this, it's inaction. And thus it is said, when you are able to reconcile action with inaction and inaction with action, see them as the same, free action may begin to arise in your case. No longer concerned about what is action and what is inaction. And free action may be born of that. Coming. So this is something you have to do for yourself, not because you're competing with other peeps and their ideas. You can't live up to anybody else's standard. Anybody else's political or social or psychological or egoic standard. See? In terms of self-image. You can't live up to any self-image. So you have to get close to what is dearest in the human being, and that's a proper relationship to the life force itself. So once you get properly in resonance with the life force, see, and the healing currents, call them the healing currents, not the political currents, the healing currents, then you have to do what that requires that you do, see, which is to heal and then strengthen yourself, gather your positive forces, see, so that you become integrated rather than disintegrated and thus unhappy and miserable, and left to the political winds of fate, see, the political times. You're a victim, you're a puppet, see, you're a piece of paper blowing in the wind. See, no, you have to reclaim your original purpose and function as a spirit. It's a spirit first, a light unto yourself. See, then from the light of unto yourselfness, see, which means no self, the light of the heart itself, you can start to reclaim, start to function as someone properly aligned and not capable of mastering the situation. That means finding peace and bringing peace to other peeps. Which is most important, that we share our wisdom regarding the processes of life and creation, as we're all here to participate in the co-creation of the universe, co-creation of life, co-creation of peace. Good.